Hi everyone, it's Jade, and thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to be sharing with you today some very powerful tips to help you get more detail out of your tarot readings. So this is going to help you lengthen them and strengthen them and get more accuracy and depth and more connection with your clients. Now, this is the first time, if you are watching the replay, I do apologize because I'm currently trialing a new system where I broadcast live into my Facebook group and into my Facebook page, but I have purchased a system called StreamYard where you can actually broadcast both and also have a better quality because the Facebook quality hasn't been that good lately. So this is a little bit of trial and error. So if you are here watching me and on the replay and you're about to get a whole bunch of technical information, I do apologize. And if you are watching the replay, please do hit subscribe on YouTube because you will always get access to these. You won't have to go and hunt for them. So if you are here, please post a comment and let me know where you're from and let me know your name because this new platform doesn't actually show me your name when you pop up, just so I can give you a shout out and say hello. If you've got questions along the way, please pop them in here. I love to answer your questions. And also I'd love you to share anything that you experience along the way. I might not get back to you straight away through the stream, but at the end, I'll definitely address any questions and any comments you've got. So we're also going to be exploring today not only how to give more detailed readings, but we are going to be exploring how you can form a bit of a better relationship with the death card, which can be a little bit intimidating for the best of us. Let's admit it. This year particularly has been really all about the death card for many of us. Hello, Andrew. Thank you for popping up from Texas. Thank you so much. I can see you. Your comments are there. And I also want to look at past life readings with tarot and oracle cards and how you can do those and also explore a bit of the limitations from them. I'm also going to be exploring how to protect yourself more on Facebook. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what courses you can do next if you are in one of my Tarot Card Success course and you're thinking, where do I go from here? And also I'm going to be announcing the Halloween competition. So those of you who are in my Tarot Mastery group know I ran a big competition this month where you could win up to 6 Jade courses. So I've got the winners of that I'm going to talk about too. So as I said, jump in, give your comments. If you're on the replay, put hashtag replay. I'd love to answer your questions as we're going. If you could permit me 5 seconds, I'm just going to jump into the Tarot Mastery group because I had a feeling that it wasn't going to broadcast in there for some reason that I don't know. So just in case there's people in there panicking and thinking they've got the wrong day, I've put an announcement in, but so far so good. If you are someone who is in the Tarot Mastery group, can you let me know if you're watching it and it's working? Thank you for being my technical advisors. This was very last minute with StreamYard where it just suddenly told me it wasn't going to connect to the group, but it is on my page. Hello, Marcy from New York. Thank you so much for joining me. So before I get started, I just want to give a big shout out to the following people who have been kind enough to leave reviews of my courses over the past month. So Brian Mirren, thank you so much for reviewing Tarot Card Success. Heidi Nielsen, thank you for your very kind review of Boost Your Psychic Gifts with EFT Tapping. It's not streaming in the Tarot Mastery group. Thank you, Andrew. If you are in there, and can you do me a huge favor? There's a free course in this for you. So thank you. If you see someone commenting, just let them know that we're on my page, and it's just www.facebook.com/clairvoyant. Facebook.com/clairvoyant.healer. That's the name of my Facebook page, and they can view it there. If you're in the replay, this obviously won't affect you, but yes, I'll give you a quick shout out later, Andrew, and give you a free course. Thank you for that. I didn't think it was going to technical out at the last minute for me. Janet Gunn, thank you so much for your beautiful review on Master Multiple Choice Tarot Readings with Confidence, and Bonnie Luciano, thank you for your review too. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to get started now. As I said, if you've got questions, pop them in here. So one of the big questions that got asked this week in Tarot Mastery, in my Tarot Card Success course, is people were wanting to know how you could get more detail out of your tarot readings. Now, I do go into this a lot more in some of the higher courses that you will get after Tarot Card Success. So how to read tarot when you struggle to remember the cards, the love readings course, and the how to give career readings and life purpose readings. You'll see how I do this a lot more in those bigger courses. Hello, Diane. But for now, I want to just, and I'll give you a few extra tips here as well. So the first thing to think about is when you're giving a tarot reading is you want to make sure that you're not just reading the positions. So say you've got the horseshoe spread, you're not just reading them like, okay, in the past this happened, and in the present this happened, in the near future this will happen, and you feel like this and that, because that reading's going to be over very quickly if that's how you're reading. What you want to start doing as you become a more advanced and proficient tarot reader is you want to start making connections between the different positions and how they're relating to each other. And this is going to be different in every reading depending on the cards, because every person's different and they've got something going on differently. So I'll give you a few examples. So let's start with, say, for example, say, hello, Rena, say you have somebody who has come to you and they've got a love reading and you're doing a Celtic cross for them. And in their conscious position, they got the Two of Cups. So you're like, oh, wow, okay. So I can see that your goal is you really, really, want to meet a partner, and that's what you're aiming to. And maybe that's what you've been set out to do for the last year or two. Maybe you've been on, on dating apps, you're really trying, but your unconscious is the Five of Pentacles, which is all about poverty and lack of financial freedom and feeling like you've been abandoned by the universe financially. So look at where the cards are contradicting each other. So this is a classic example. So if your goal is to find love, and yet and that's what you're consciously doing in your actions in your everyday world, and maybe that's why you're there to see the tarot reader, but underneath you believe maybe getting married or finding love means you'll be poor or you'll lose your financial freedom, or it's just too, you don't have enough money, or maybe some poverty beliefs and scarcity that's come about as your parents when they were growing up. Maybe there wasn't a lot of money in your house when you were growing up, or you saw your parents fight over money. That could be blocking you from being able to meet your potential soulmate or your potential marriage partner. So you could take a really good solid chunk of time. Now, I don't mean, artificially inflate a reading. Please don't ever do that to, flesh it out, but you could really go in deep with your client and ask them some questions about this, because this is a block for them, and ask them, okay, what are you feeling about the financial aspects of meeting your partner? Like, what was it like in your family growing up? What do you believe about money and love? Or are you currently maybe experiencing some poverty mindset and think that getting married is going to solve it, which any of us who've gotten married knows it rarely does. So please look at how the cards are connecting with each other beyond just reading it like a color by numbers thing. And then you'll get that more depth and accuracy, and you'll also connect more with your clients. Now, some of you might say, well, Sal, what if I'm doing an email reading? How do I do that in an email reading? Because you're not kind of getting that feedback and you're not getting that interaction. Just make sure then that you're allowing maybe an extra 5 or 10 minutes to say to your client, is there any, ask them some questions and then interpret that in there. So reach out to them and say, hey, I'm having a bit of a trouble with this card. Can I talk to you about, if it's the Five of Pentacles, your belief systems growing up? And then you might be able to connect it more even with the other cards. Now, I had this experience happen to me the other day when I was getting a healing, where the lady, she was like saying, oh, this big block is to do with something that happened to you when you were 16. Now, I was really strongly in my belief that it was actually something that happened to me when I was 12. And I was a bit like, 16? And she started making a few assumptions. She was like, oh, because maybe, it was the first time X, Y, Z. And I was like, well, no, actually, that wasn't. That was years before that. And so there's a bit of a block for her and me, and a bit of a tension, which it happens to the best of us. And having said that, as we worked more through the healing session, I got to and I'm saying like the last 10 minutes, and it hit me about what had happened when I was 16 that was impacting on the whole block of what was going on for me. So sometimes it takes that time to go through the cards and reconnect them and talk to your clients about them and really drum out a particular card that's popping out for you for the real core of the issue to come through. So please try to do that as much as possible in your readings. Look at how maybe the U card is connecting with the secret fears and the secret hopes. So I'll give you another example. Say in your say, like in the horseshoe spread, in the way that your client is feeling is the Page of Pentacles. So say they're like, oh, they've started a new job. Maybe, you've got the Ace of Pentacles. So maybe they've started a new job in their present and they're feeling like a page, like it's really new, and they're vulnerable and they're like an apprentice. But in the Secret Hopes and Fears, they've got the Two of Pentacles, which is all about balancing and juggling money. So what might be, I call it the dramatic tension. So I talk about this in How to Read Tarot When You Struggle to Remember the Cards, which is a course about how to read tarot more intuitively. I talk about the dramatic tension between, okay, you're feeling like you are new and you're vulnerable, and yet you're worried that you can't afford to feel like that. So any of us who've started a new job or a new career know that it's a really scary thing when you are new at something and you're a bit afraid of failing because you've invested so much in this, and you might end up, losing your job, or you might end up failing at it. And so these two tensions are working and pulling you apart. And so focus on that for your client. Give them that overview. Say, hey, it kind of feels like you're in a situation where you kind of have to be new and vulnerable, because that's what it means to be in a new career or a new job, but you're worried you can't afford to do that. So let's look at that. Let's look at how we can shift that. And hopefully there would be some other cards that in the tarot reading that will give you, especially if they're major arcana, that will give you some more suggestions on how they can shift that. So this is one way that you can lengthen your readings and get more out of them than just whipping through it in 5 minutes, is to make connections between the positions and link it to the question. And the second way is to focus on those overall more esoteric things. So things like the numbers, like how do they have an abundance of numbers? So have they got 3 threes in the reading? So 3s are about growth. So I talk about this in How to Read Tarot When You Struggle to Remember the Cards. And I talk about how to understand what's going on for your clients in under 2 minutes, just by counting what the numbers are and going, okay, well, they've got 4. They've got 2 4s, which is about consolidation, making things solid. So that you can talk about the overall theme of their life. And that's something you can go into quite depth with them. Or 7s, which is about don't give up. So perseverance. Say they've got, in a 10-card reading, they've got 3 7s, then focus on, okay, this is a bit of a rocky climb for you right now, because you're going to have to be very persistent in these different areas in your life. And, so go into the depth of that and connect the numbers with the questions. And also those card combinations, like where are card combinations showing up? And, they're getting the double up in them. Where are they getting the themes that are the same? So say you're getting the Hermit and the 4 of Cups, and also the 8 of Cups. Like, they're both cards that talk about walking away from something. So that to me indicates, okay, we're going to really go deep into this walking away from, and really having to go within yourself to find the answers. And maybe you're seeking for a lot of external validation and external answers from gurus or books or alcohol, but really you need to go within. Like, your answers are going to be within right now. And that's, so look at where themes are being reinforced and doubly reinforced. And that will really help strengthen and lengthen your readings. You'll get your client much more on the same page as you. Like, they'll kind of be like, oh, this person really knows what they're talking about. And you'll get them more engaged. It won't be such a blank wall. I'm sure some of you have had this, where someone's just sitting there like a blank wall in front of you, or with their arms crossed, and you're kind of giving a lot of information and you're like, I'm getting nothing back from you here. But these kind of processes gives you that interaction, because you're kind of going, I see this and this, they're working together. Let's talk about this a bit more. I need to know more. And you can even then often, you'll find yourself just intuitively pulling a few more cards to deal with that topic. So they might volunteer some more information, like I did in that healing that I was speaking about. And then suddenly, wow, okay, we've got another direction to take this reading a little bit. Let's go a bit more in depth and pull 2 or 3 cards about this direction. So these are ways you can strengthen the accuracy and get more depth out of your readings. And as I said, you'll see me do that much more in some of those higher courses on Udemy that I have. But for now, if you're only in Tarot Card Success, and then just start practicing when you first see a spread, looking at how the positions are connecting and where there's some dramatic tension, where you feel like your client might be in a bit of trauma. And maybe this is a big block because they've got one element of their life, so say their hopes and fears, working against how they're feeling, and back and forth, and just see how that slots together. So I hope that helps anyone who is really struggling to get how they can make their readings a little bit more fleshed out for more accuracy and detail. Now, thank you, Alan. Hello, Andrew. Andrew says, I wrote replies to both posts about the stream, then wrote a new post to help people find this. Thank you, Andrew. You are an angel and my saint for today. I wasn't expecting a technical mess up like that, so thank you so much. And hello, Rena. So, and again, if you've got questions about anything I've just said, pop them in here. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the death card. Now, if you are anything like me and the year that has been going on, if you follow the planets and look, if I don't take it so seriously that I bend my life backwards, but I am often aware that when the planets all go into retrograde, like 7 of them have in the past 5 months have gone into retrograde, that things can be very chaotic. And if you're ever looking for more astrological information about that kind of stuff, Elizabeth Peru is my goddess on this stuff. Like, she's really good. I follow her on Facebook and she's really amazing. But look, we have had, Pluto, which is all about the dark underworld, and Saturn, which is all about your life purpose, and then Venus about your love life, and then Mercury, which is communication. All of them went into retrograde at the same time. And so that's been quite excruciating for some people. And the death card then is going to be a card that is probably showing up for a lot of people, because part of these retrogrades are often about the death of something, like the death of your old patterns, the death of a relationship that's just no longer working, or a way of you being in relationships. So say if you're single and you start dating someone and you realize you're following the same pattern or attracting the same kind of person again and again and again, like, this is time for death to say, this isn't working anymore. Like, we need to try something new. You're going to have to graduate and grow up. Now, often when people get the death card, I just got a little third eye. This is what happens to me when I get a big hit. My third eye gets itchy. Often what happens is when we get the death card, we can panic, especially if you're asking about a relationship and you're feeling vulnerable and fragile and you don't know why someone's acting the way they're acting, or about your job and you're feeling like, oh my God, am I going to lose my job, or your career, something you've invested your time and love in, and suddenly death comes to town. Something that I highly recommend, and this has been my absolute go-to this year, has been, instead of falling apart and instead of being anxious about losing whatever it is that is going to be transforming, is to be like the child in the card and just try to be curious about, okay, what's this going to bring next? So if it's love, who's it going to bring into my love life? Or if it's your job, what job opportunities are going to show up? Or what paths am I going to explore? Maybe I'm going to go study something and then find my life purpose. Maybe I'm going to go write a book. Like, just being more curious. Now, obviously, when you're in trauma, that you're about to lose something that you're very attached to, that can be a bit difficult. But just keep it on the back burner, rather than, just be like, okay, can I try to just write in my journal, okay, well, what next? What's coming next? Like, what's going to, and to try to reflect about when death has served you. And I talk about in Tarot Card Success how you leave primary school and yes, you leave behind your one teacher you've had for years, and that's really quite hard. But then you go into high school and you get a whole bunch of new mentor teachers, and it's challenging at first, but you have to leave the primary school to get the new mentors. So thinking about some of your own life experiences with death, where you've really transformed and had to let go and it's been deeply uncomfortable, but also that little act of excitement that you get when you go from primary school to high school, like you're going to meet new people and it's going to be a whole new thing and you're going to have more responsibilities and more freedom. So again, thinking your own life, reflect upon it whenever you get the death card and you're panicking. Or if your client gets the death card and they're really upset, especially if it's a love thing, because they're bound to be upset. It's hard not to be upset when you get death around a love interest. So try to encourage them, think, okay, when has death worked in your favor and how can we be more curious about death? So I hope that's helped for any of you who have struggled with death, and I'm hoping that that card wasn't pulled too many times for you this year. And those of you who are thinking, oh, this is terrible what Sal's saying with all the planets, we are on the way out. Tomorrow is November 4th, which is the end of the Saturn the Saturn retrograde. So we actually now only have Jupiter left, which finishes in December in retrograde, and Jupiter's the luckiest one of all, and it's not usually that difficult in retrograde. So yay! Thank you. Goodbye, retrogrades. Thank you. So now I'm going to talk a bit about past life. Being in a past life, readings. Now, I got asked this question the other day in the tarot group. How can I do a past life reading with tarot and oracle cards, or can I do them? Look, absolutely yes. Now, oracle cards, there are actual past life oracle card readings you can find out there. There's a new one out, and I can't remember who the author is, sorry, and I do know Doreen Virtue had one, but she has gone, her transition away from this kind of work has been a little bit intense and it's harder to get those kind of decks anymore, and people feel very differently about using her decks. I have a free lecture, by the way, if you want to know more about Doreen Virtue and using her cards, because they are still out there, I have a free lecture in my How to Be Psychic course. I think it's lecture 21 or 22 that you can go and watch about making that decision if you want to keep using them. It's a personal decision, considering what she now says publicly about using tarot and oracle cards. So you can go and have a look at that. For me, love using oracle cards and tarot cards in addition to doing past life regressions or channeling or communicating with my guides and angels. So I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying it's a lot more challenging, because people expect when you're doing a past life reading on them that you're going to get some really accurate details, like you were burnt as a witch, and your current father was the person who set you on fire, and your current brother is the one that dobbed you in and betrayed you, and your current mother was your little sister and they took her away and you never saw her again, and that's why you've got this wounded issue. Like, those kind of issues are quite detailed, and you might not necessarily get all of that detail from an oracle card or a tarot card reading. However, I will say this, you can with a tarot card. Like those of you who are in my love readings course that gives psychic love readings with ease, I do a whole section on past life readings and love, like identifying when someone is a past life love, like a karmic connection. There are tarot cards that can do that in a love reading, like Justice and Judgment. There are certain past life karmic ones that are very much indicating there are strong past life connections. You could also do a tarot reading with a past life and try to get the themes. Like, I would do a story, I call it a storybook reading, and you see me do them in some of the other, like a 5-card reading where you say the journey, maybe like beginning of life, middle of life, going through 5 cards and what the major themes were. And also often you can obviously do a major arcana reading. You could do like a 5-card spread of what were your big major spiritual lessons in that lifetime. Again, I mean, talking about what I was saying before about trying to get more detail, it just might be a little bit limited, because you're not going to, unless you're already strongly using some psychic gifts and clairvoyance to call in your angels and guides to add additional information to the cards. The cards on their own might not give enough detail to make a client happy. It would be my only suggestion. Please do call in your angels and guides. Like I said, when I do a reading, a past life reading, even before I do a regression on someone, I will start with the channeling. I'll go in and tune into them and get some information, and then I will do the cards. So to reinforce that. So you can do that, but the cards on their own can be a little bit challenging. So I hope that makes sense to anyone who's wondered, can you do that? And look, the past life oracle card readings, again, like they might suggest in a past life you were a healer, and that's why that's going on for you right now. That's why that's the big issue, which is very important. But you might not get a lot of that clairvoyant information. So you might need to combine that with channeling. So, oh my goodness, Natasha Corbin's here. Hello. My very favourite business mentor, Auntie Tash Corbin. Hello. Lovely to see you. And so I'd like you guys to think about how to do that. You might want to practice them on your own before trying them with a client and see how much information you get with your own personal past life journey, because that might feel a bit less pressured if you're doing it like that. So I hope that has helped anyone looking at past life readings and and with oracle cards and tarot cards. So I've got a couple of questions here. Alan, I thought it was tomorrow night. I think I got it mixed up because of jet lag. Glad I'm here, even though I'm late. I'm glad you are here too. You're fine with death and you're more afraid of the tower. Yes. Well, look, someone else actually posted in the group on an upside. Someone posted in the group about how they got the tower in the future, and does that mean bad things? And I always say with the tower, no, it just means things aren't going to work out the way you expected. And sometimes that's a blessing. Like sometimes that forces us to go in and look at our belief systems. It forces us to really investigate where we are going wrong, where we're giving our energy to the wrong people, where we are believing things that like those weak foundations and repetitive patterns. So the tower can be a good thing, and sometimes it might just be one thing not working out. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. And what else? Oh, Shannon, is there any issue using them now? Look, it is. This is the Doreen Virtue cards. It's really a personal issue. I can't make any kind of moral judgment on anyone, yes or no. I no longer follow her on her channels because she has gone really like right wing, like beyond right, like aggressively right wing. Which because she taught me like in person, like I had. Like she's read me in person. I've seen her in seminars in person. It was really hard for me to see that transition, for her to go so so hateful. That was really difficult. But her cards have always resonated with me, and I believe the energy that she was in when she created them was a beautiful space. Like she gave so many beautiful things to the world in her ability to help all these light workers really come out and to really let go of really harsh, religious, rigid backgrounds and beliefs and be able to embrace a new way of connecting with spirituality. She gave that gift to the world. Unfortunately, she's kind of doing something else now. Send her all the love in the world, but it's a personal choice. And look, if you're not sure, Shannon, a really good idea is actually just pick a tarot card. Is it for my best and highest good to keep using her cards, or to use her cards yes, no, and see what you get and see how you feel. I also feel like you'll kind of get a feeling if you don't like it. And that happened to me with her cards towards the end, when she was clearly starting to go off the rails a bit with how she felt about these topics, and yet the cards were still being sold. I bought a few of her more recent decks and I just couldn't touch them. I couldn't open them. So energetically, maybe she was already shifting into another direction, and Hay House was still selling her stuff. So yeah, I would see how it intuitively feels to you, whether you want to keep using her cards or buy her cards. I've seen other psychics do that. Why is that? They just go left field. That's such a great question. So I will share a little personal story with you guys here, I guess, on Doreen Virtue. So I became one of her angel practitioners in, I'm going to say 2004, 5, one of those years. And so she came to the Gold Coast, which was near where I was living at the time. Beautiful seminar over 3 or 4 days with about 700 people, and you train to be one of her angel practitioners. And it was so interesting for me. It was one of these really my intuitive psychic moments, and I was only doing it to heal myself. I was going through some depression at the time. I wasn't doing it to be a professional. And at the end of the 3 or 4 days, I came outside, and she'd been teaching for 3 or 4 days, and which is exhausting. And she, especially energy work like that, she was leaving the building and going out back the stage with her partner, Stephen Farmer, at the time. And I had left a bit early to go to the bathroom and saw her kind of dashing out. And I kind of got a little bit starstruck and kind of went, thank you, Doreen. We love you. And she kind of spun around and looked at me, and her face, I just saw it. I just saw this moment of trauma crossing her face. And I thought, and my intuitive thing went, she's utterly exhausted and wrecked. Like she's just given so much of herself in this 4-day seminar. And I really had this moment of, there's something hard going on there for her. And I kind of feel like that was the beginning of the journey for her, because she then, I don't know if you guys know this, but she was kind of forced to go. She actually retired from doing these workshops because it obviously was taking a lot out of her. And then her husband at the time, they divorced her, and she was forced into a really messy thing where she had to give him a certain amount of money every month. And so she had to go back on tour and do these seminars. And I'm sure any of you can imagine, without judgment, what it would be like to suddenly have to financially support someone and, have to be forced to go back on the road and do it when she didn't want to do it. And so part of my feeling is, and again, I'm totally wrong, that I think something in her just maybe cracked. Maybe something in her just was like, this angel work that she'd loved and she had dedicated her life to and had been so successful. And suddenly she was being forced into doing it. So maybe that's what happens to some psychics. They get so big, their expectations of their audience is they have to keep channeling stuff out. And so something in them breaks a bit. That's, again, I might be totally off wrong. I'm not saying I'm the guru of understanding Doreen Virtue, but for me, maybe that's what happened. Maybe something in her cracked a little bit with that, and she just protected herself by going into this ultra right wing, very strange area. So I hope that's helped, Shannon. So I went on a bit of a tangent for that. Doing them on yourself, is he talking about past life regression or the cards, Shannon? Doing them on yourself, the past life ones, or are you talking about using her cards? Manawa, yeah, she became a very, very hardcore Christian. I mean, and, you know, Christianity can be very beautiful, but it's like very, really intense, you know, like very angry and vitriolic. Thank you. Past life. Yes, I do them on myself all the time. Yeah, I love doing them on myself. I think it's a great thing to do to get lots of awareness. Question. Deanne, I agree, Sal. Her energy was beautiful for me. Her cards held that energy and mine. Yeah, I think that's the thing too. They were my first kind of psychic experiences besides the tarot. It was so sad. We had many great times with her, and you're also a 2009 graduate. Yes, so send her love for her journey. It definitely, yes, it's been an interesting one for many people. Early pregnancy. Oh, so Shannon, I talk a lot about pregnancy in master health readings and psychic wellness. I do highly suggest you do that course because it's a 5-hour course. That's how, and there's a whole thing about fertility and miscarriages and terminations and children that are born and, you know, like pregnancy and how it can be very confusing because, you know, we can fall pregnant but not deliver to term. And you do need to be quite an experienced reader, in my opinion, ethically, before you rush into telling women that they may lose a baby, because, you know, that is a really serious and not a great thing to do to any woman, especially if she's already gone through that trauma before. Like it's the worst thing that can happen to a woman is losing a child, and to her partner as well. And so, yes, I would restrain from doing serious pregnancy readings until you are feeling very experienced with the cards, till you have realized that you're not a doctor. It's really, you've got to be super careful. You can caution women about taking it easy, but, you know, be really careful with that stuff. So yeah, I do recommend going and looking at that. Doing readings on yourself. I'm having a Mercury retrograde moment, and it's not even retrograde Mercury. Yes, you can absolutely do readings on yourself when you're pregnant. That's not a problem at all. But just don't ask about the baby, is what I'm saying. Unless you're, you know, don't scare yourself. There's no reason to do that. Go to a doctor if you're worried about those kind of issues. Would be my question. No, please don't apologize for the questions. I love answering questions. This is why I do what I do. This is my great passion. So definitely always safe for me to do tarot readings when you're pregnant. The only thing I would always watch out for with pregnancy and readings, if you're doing them on yourself, is to try not to, like, I wouldn't channel lots of energy into your womb. Definitely not red energy, you know, those kind of things. So, or anything that's going to stress you out. Like if you're worried you're going to lose your house, say, for example, and you're heavily pregnant and you get bad cards and that's going to traumatize you more, then, you know, maybe think about going and getting a Reiki heal. Well, I just said don't do Reiki, but go and get some kind of gentle healing instead, or work on journaling or praying or doing something that's a bit more grounded, because you don't want to risk stressing yourself or the baby. I hope that helps. Okay, keep those questions going. Oh, so now I forgot the very exciting parts. I think have I spoken of everything? Oh, so protecting yourself on Facebook while you are giving readings. So I get asked this a lot, and it's another one of the topics I explore in my health readings course on Udemy, the Master Health Readings and Psychic Wellness. I talk about if you're going to be a professional, you really need to make sure, or even if you're just doing readings, that you protect yourself every time before you go on Facebook. Now, that can be hard because sometimes you might be at the doctor's office and you're scrolling. You might be in, you know, waiting for a friend when you're scrolling. You know, the 50 million times we scroll a day in weighty situations. The thing is, what you're doing is you're exposing your beautiful energy to the pain and trauma and grief and anger and frustration of every single person who is in your feed. And if you're anything like me, that's 300 people. And at any given time, they can be going through serious trauma. And you can be there to love and support and help them. But also, like, if you're doing that constantly, like your energy, and it's not protected, you're going to be absorbing it. And if you're sensitive and empathic like me, you're just going to get knocked around a bit. So people getting angry or furious about something that the government's doing, or angry and furious about what real estate agents in the country are doing, or like I'm on a few community boards, local ones, and I find them really helpful and useful, but people get angry on them and they fight each other like dogs and in a park, and it can be really like woo, scrolly, and it can also really trigger you to want to get on there and start having some shouting and not fun, but shouting, and it's so what I do, or what I highly recommend before just aimlessly scrolling, which is something we all do, just take a second, and ask your guides, say, guides, protect me while I scroll. Or you might do a deep one at the beginning of the day and say, look, every time I pick up the phone, can you just make sure that I am completely shielded and protected from other people's pain and suffering, and help me discern between what is their energy and my energy. And I always, say, protect yourself and preserve yourself. If someone's going through, like if you're feeling vulnerable and you can see 17 other people going through a really hard time and they're angry, just scroll, just keep going, don't get involved. Come back and support them when you're not feeling so vulnerable. And I'd also say it's self-preservation. It sounds a bit mean, but don't be afraid to unfollow people for 30 days. Like I've done that. I mean, not your sister, but people that are you're not really close to, but they're going through a really, you can see there's bitterness and there's vitriol, and you think, oh, I want to support them. But if that's going to take away from you helping your clients or helping your loved ones, then you're not doing anyone any favors. So I do sometimes unfollow people for 30 days because I'm just like, oh, I'm taking on too much of their energy right now. So I hope that's helped for those of you thinking about doing professional readings. Make sure that you are always protected, especially when you're popping into groups like mine, like Tarot Mastery, because in Tarot Mastery, we've got thousands of people in there, and they might be asking questions, or they post their reading and they might be confused, and there's some energy in that. So you want to make sure before you go in and answer and help people that you've got protection too as well, so you don't take that on. Okay, I hope that's helped. So before I go on, so people often ask me which course I should do next if I'm one of your students and I'm doing Tarot Card Success. So look, it depends on what you love and what you're passionate about. I'm always a fan of following your passion. If you want to do love readings, it's great because it's got, over 60% of people ask you love questions. So things like, when will I get married? Who is my soulmate? Past life connections, those kind of things are great for that. Career readings, if you want to focus on career readings, that's another big one that people do. So I would do either one of those two, but also a big recommendation is one of my newest courses, How to Read Tarot When You Struggle to Remember the Cards, because I've got a bonus tarot planner in there where you can intuitively connect more to the cards and with your own intuitive journey. And it's more about, tarot healing as well. And you also get to know what's going on for a client in under 2 minutes, even if you've forgotten all the different definitions. So that's a great one as well. It also does numerology, like the numbers in the minor arcana and card combinations. So that's a great one to go in and get more depth as well if you're struggling to think, what course should I do next? Now I'm going to announce the winners of my Halloween competition. So I've been posting in the Facebook group and in my Facebook page about how to win courses. I do this every year. I think I've been doing this now for about 7 years, where if you finish your course, one of my courses in October, you enter the chance to win up to 6 of my courses. And I've got the winners here today, so I'm going to be announcing them and I'll be emailing them out to you. So thank you for everyone who participated. I had over 80 people finish courses this month. So well done you for studying and getting motivated to study and to finish your courses off. And so our first prize, which is 6 courses, goes to Katerina Mulcher. So thank you, Katerina, so much for entering, and you have won 6 courses. Second prize goes to Crystal, I'm hoping I'm saying this right, Pachero. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. That's 5 courses. Third prize goes to Janet Gunn. You have won 4 courses. And fourth prize goes to Alan Desta, who is here now, I believe. You have won 3 courses. So congratulations. I'm going to be sending out your vouchers to you by the email that you sent in to me. And if you are thinking, oh, I wish I'd been able to join that competition, do keep a lookout because I will run another one just before Christmas. It's something I also do around Christmas as well. So I hope that has helped everyone who has come here today. Thank you so much for your precious time. If you have questions, as always, please either post them here, post them in the Q&A board. If it's a more personal question, you can send out to team@saljade.com. Always happy to answer questions. Thank you, Andrew's yelling out congratulations. And thank you for everyone who joined me in the patience of going through StreamYard and the multiple streaming. And as I said, just if you ever need me, please reach out at team@saljade.com or post here on these questions. Thanks so much for joining me. I'm going to be here for another minute or so if you've got a question. Congratulations, Alan. I'm just going to scroll through and see there's nothing else going on too, that there's something I've missed. Sometimes I miss them. Oh, Andrew, I'm going to message you with a free course too. Thank you for doing that. No more questions. Hello, Mikhail. Manawa. No, thank you, Deanne. Thank you again, everybody. It's been so lovely, and I hope you've gotten lots out of this stream. Bye.